Hello everyone and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux and today I want to show you how to add realistic sun rays to a photograph. The Sunrays tool in Luminar AI is one that is often misunderstood and often accused of being misused because it's very easy to make very noticeable kind of garish sun rays in an image. But I want to show you how to put this tool to use to make beautiful natural looking sun rays. And the key to that is that people don't know that you added them. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. If you guys have any questions as we go along, don't forget to go ahead and put those into the chat pod. I'll do my best to get those answered during the show. Hello, Joseph. So glad you're able to join me today. All right, let's get started. So up on the screen, I have a beautiful image that I took autumn a few years ago. This was in Newport News, Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful park that I was in. You can see all of the gorgeous colors. And here is actually my original. And this was 5 images that I had bracketed, exposure bracketed in my camera. And then I merged them together in Aurora HDR. This was the final merge. So this is the image that I wanted to make pop. This image has a lot more dynamic range and depth than any one of the 5 original brackets. So I merged them together and got this, which is a lot closer to what I saw. And then this is more how I imagined it. This is how it felt. So let me walk you through the process and show you exactly how I accomplished this effect. I'm going to right click on the image, go to adjustments, and revert this to the original. Hello, Pat. So glad you're able to join me today. All right, so we're going to begin with a template. And I'm going to go down to one of my absolute favorites here in the scenery category and choose Fast Fix. And I love how this brightens up the image, pops the colors, and gets me so much closer to where I wanted to be with just a single click. So here's the before and the after, and that shows you the power of these templates. But like most photographers, I'm rarely satisfied with just a one-click edit. I like to do more. I like to have fun with my editing. So I'm going to click over to the Edit tab and make a few refinements. First, I'm going to scroll down to Mystical. And I like that this adds kind of a glowy mysticism to the image and really just impacts how I felt in the moment as I was walking. You can see it adds a little bit of drama, a little bit of glow. So I'm going to pull that up fairly strong. And then I'm going to back off the smoothness because it does take away a little bit of smoothness. And I'm going to go down into Colorize and I'm going to warm it up a little bit more because it was a late afternoon, kind of that golden hour type of day. Hey, Jerry, this was closer to sunset than sunrise. So from there, what I want to do is, let's see here. I want to brighten up this path. So one of the things that I like to do is give my viewers a place to go through the image. So I'd like to brighten up this path a little bit and just make that path through the woods a little bit more obvious. I'm going to do that by going down to our Dodge and Burn. I'm going to choose Lighten, and I'm going to bring the strength down pretty low. And then I'm going to use the bracket keys on my keyboard. You can see I've got a little keyboard shortcut button there that I've added. Hopefully you guys find that helpful. So you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to lightly brush in a bit of lightness down here in this corner to kind of lead the viewer and just draw you into that path. Now, if you feel like it went a little too bright, you can always go to the overall amount, back it off a little bit. But it's just one of those little subtle cues that you don't really register as editing when you're looking at it, but it can make a pretty powerful difference. So if I turn that off and then back on again, it just draws you to that path. Now, I do want to add a nice big soft vignette to this image. So I'm going to scroll back up to our vignette tool and let's add a nice big vignette. So I'm going to pull that amount slider down to -100. Size is good. We'll go into our advanced settings, bring up the feather really high for a nice smooth transition. Maybe add a tiny bit of inner light. It doesn't need much. And then take that amount slider and back that off to the point that it looks natural. And I think right about there looks good. Now, when I look at this image, the next thing I really notice is that we do have the sun breaking through the trees right here. And you can see that the light is hitting this path. I want to accentuate that with those sun rays. So I'm going to scroll down to our Sunrays tool. And this is where we get to have some fun. And you can see how you can transform those added sun rays from something really garish and out of place to something really beautiful that, you know, does really good things to your image. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull that amount slider up nice and high. And this is so we can see it. Then I'll click Place Sun Center. And much like when you're choosing a sky for sky replacement, you want to pay attention to the direction of light. So I'm going to bring that sun center to where the sun is naturally. And now I'm going to slightly position this around so I can get those sun rays so they're falling really nicely on my path. So we can just move this around a little bit and get this exactly where we want it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error. It's just you're moving it around, trying to find the best placement. Yep, not there. And maybe up a little bit higher. Over a little bit. Sometimes this comes together easier than I want. All right, so that's kind of perfect. There I have the rays coming down right on my path. Now, the key to making this look good is not just these settings up here, but you need to click down into these other sections. So the first thing I want to do, because we already had a fairly blown out section of the sky right in that break in the trees, I'm going to go to my sun settings. I'm going to pull that sun radius down. You see how that brings back that detail in the middle. I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to bring that back down all the way to 0. And then I'm going to also pull down the glow radius, and that's going to take care of what's going on up here. Now we can even move this around a little bit more if we want to, and we have a little bit better idea of what that placement is doing. So let's go ahead and keep it right there. And I'm going to pull the glow amount down on the sun. There we go. So already this is looking better. Now what we can do is go down to our ray settings. This is going to affect the actual rays that are coming down. And we can adjust the amount of sun rays that we have. So we can pull that down, have fewer rays. And sometimes I think that looks a little bit more natural. Our inclination is to want to have a lot of rays, but when we're talking about natural sunlight, sometimes, there we go. That's really nice. I like how that's coming down and affecting this area right here. Now we can play a little bit with the warmth of the sun and the warmth of the rays. We can control these independently. I don't really want to add a whole lot up there at the top for the sun, but we can warm up these rays here in the foreground just a little bit. Okay, so now that I have those set pretty much where I want them, we can go back up to the top and take a look at some of these other settings. I like to keep that amount high and everything looking a little bit garish while I adjust the rest of this so I can really see what's happening. If we pull these amounts back down and even some of these other settings lower while we set these settings down here, it's just really hard to see what's happening. So from there, I'm going to change the overall look. Let's go ahead and you can see how that's darkening the image, brightening the image. That's basically changing, relighting the rest of the scene to compensate for those lights. So I'm going to leave that right about there. We can adjust the length of these sun rays so it doesn't look quite as long. I think right about there. See, now it looks like it's really hitting that bright spot in the path. I like that. And then how much those rays are coming through the trees. I'm going to pull that back actually quite a bit. Maybe right about there. And that's starting to look really good. Now that we have that set, now we can start pulling back on the amount slider. And you want to back that off to where it's almost disappeared because you don't want people to know that you added those rays. Now, looking at this, I do want to adjust my placement here just a little bit more. Let's see here. It seems like I had it down over here, which was it's hard to find that sweet spot. So you have to definitely play with it and work with it to get it right where you want it. Maybe right about there. Adjust that amount, bring that up a little bit more. I'm going to pull it back up strong a second because I'm having a hard time placing this exactly where I want it. Let's try that. And now let's pull back on that amount. Leave in a little bit more. You want it to be there, but you don't want it to be in your face. So let's go ahead. I'm going to click on Place Sun Center again, and let's turn this off. And then turn it back on. And as you turn it back on, you can still really see those rays are fairly well defined. I might back that off a little bit more. We're trying to add a sense of atmosphere, but you don't want it to go over the top. And again, if people can tell that you added the rays, you've probably gone too far. So again, we turn it off and then back on again. And I think that's a really nice balance between added rays, impacting the sun, making that area really glow and come alive, and how it lights up the path here in the foreground. So let's take a look at our overall before and after. Gosh, I love this picture. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I love how the sun rays make it come alive. So I want to say hello to Russ. Glad you're able to join me today, even if you are a little bit late. Better late than never. So you guys got to see what we were able to do here with an image by adding some artificial sun rays, but making them look very, very natural. If you have any questions, make sure you pop those into the comments, or if you're watching the recording, put them into the chat below. I do go back and look at those and read them and do my best to answer all of the questions you guys leave me. If you have any thoughts that you want to send, you can always email me at angela@skylum.com. And if you like this series, make sure you give us a big thumbs up here on YouTube. We love seeing that. Our producers love seeing that. So with that, I'm going to turn you loose for the rest of the day. I look forward to seeing how you put the Sunrays tool to use. Make sure you tag me on Facebook or on Insiders or wherever you post your images. I'd love to see what you do with this tool. With that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and see you next time. Bye, everybody.